Welcome back, everyone, to the Functional Code. We are excited to bring to you guys today a new episode. We are going to be talking on our core series. This is just where we take the nuts and the bolts from one of our long-form content, and we are going to be talking about breath work today. This was one of our most popular podcasts, actually, in the last couple of months, so we're excited to break that one down for you guys. Today, we are just bringing you the ultimate guide to breath work. No fluff. You're going to be taking away science-backed tools that you can try today. And we'll even be covering how AI can coach your breathing. So, as always, I am Dr. Addy.
And I am Dr. Jace. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Diving into a bunch of things in terms of the 4 codes to breath mastery in terms of control, capacity, calm, cognition, and clarity, breaking down different types of breath work, why it helps, how you can ramp up the system, how you can calm the system down, and some of the quickest ways to calm the system down. Stay tuned. This is going to be fun as we dive through this whole aspect. Now, in terms of breathing, we also have to look at how the lungs are functioning. We also have to look at how the rib cage is functioning as well. So when you look at the ribs, especially with more times females than males, if you notice the ribs are flared downwards, you're going to have more of a challenge taking a deep breath in. You're not allowing your body to maximize the oxygen coming into the body and utilize that. So that's where a few other stuff comes into play, which we'll talk on here in a sec. But Doc, in terms of how you use breath work with patients, is there certain things you use on a day-to-day, or I guess what are some of the benefits of breath work?
Absolutely. I would say I have, even just in the last week, I've used it on at least 5 to 10 patients. And I would say right now with patients who have jaw pain, I do a lot of breath work while I'm doing manual therapy with them.
Good call.
It works really well. We already know that jaw pain is heavily tied to psychosocial issues. It can be, I shouldn't say all of it, but it can be. So when I am treating them, I have them doing nasal breathing and trying to downregulate, and even during their day, I doubt that they've even taken the time to just try to relax and try to de-stress. People are usually always go, especially if you've got kids and you just don't even take the time to just breathe and relax. Those patients, they respond really well when I'm doing manual therapy. They're breathing, doing usually like a vertical breathing or diaphragm breathing. Other patients that I use it on, those who have like pelvic pain, stomach pain, tight diaphragm, those who are chronic chest breathers, those who have lack of almost, like you mentioned, like rib cage movement. And so those are the other patients that I'm doing it on. So I'm working their diaphragm. Usually I'm having them inhale and then exhale as much as they can while I'm driving underneath their rib cage to try to reduce the tightness of their diaphragm. That usually works really well. Sometimes patients with intestinal issues, I'll even work the diaphragm just because it can be really sore and tight if they've been constipated. I love it. I use it all the time. And I really do think that it can be such a cheap and quick way to make changes in your life. There's nothing that you need to add. It's something that you can start right now and start practicing, and it does make a huge difference.
Oh, I love that. And sometimes I use it for if people have this like weird pain when breathing. Oftentimes the rib pits can be collapsed together and either not attached to the spine, or it gets spasmed and it doesn't connect quite well on the front side, especially to some of the top 7 ribs to the sternum. So usually what I'd have someone do, if you have some of this like pain with breathing, putting your fingers between the ribs or between the bones, you tilt away and then take deep breaths, trying to force the breath in the direction in which you are tilting away from. And that will help relieve some of the spasm and then help connect all the systems back together on that side. So that can work quite well for intercostaritis, anything in terms of limitations when breathing. But even to take this a step further, let's say you're getting a side cramp when you're exercising, working out, the double inhale, exhale can also relieve that referral pain, which will also help for that side ache when you're running for longer periods of time as well.
I've used that a lot before too when training. I loved too when we talked about how rib mobility can be improved by breath work alone. And we learned about that with Greg Rose, who runs TPI. and how he uses breath work to improve his golfers' thoracic mobility. Crazy to see the before and afters when patients were assessed as far as their initial thoracic mobility. He did then 5 to 10 breaths using the diaphragmatic kind of lower and then upper. He would do more lower rib expansion and then upper rib expansion. And then he'd retest them and they'd see 30 to even 50% improvement in range of motion of the thoracic spine. So
Yeah, when we did that, it was just right then and there.
phenomenal.
2 times you did it.
And I do
both
that.
improved.
I do that before I go golf. Every time I go golf, I do that now.
Smart.
Yeah.
Do you actually get down like hands and knees, or
Yeah,
do you
so I
do
go
that?
to the gym, my apartment gym first.
Okay.
And I'll do your. So this is the best pre-golf workout. I'm telling you, this is what I do.
Let's go.
So I go warm up for 5 minutes on the treadmill, get the body moving.
Beautiful.
And then I do thoracic workspaces, level 1. So that's just basically moving the thoracic spine in a full range of motion. I'll even add some rotation in a little bit with it as well. And then I grab like a 40-pound workout ball, medicine ball.
Yeah.
Add a little resistance to that. So I'll do that another 10,
Beautiful.
20 times. And then I'll do my 5 to 10 breaths lower for the lower ribs and upper ribs. So again, that's trying to expand the lower ribs. I'll usually be on my back when I'm doing this.
And you're touching your ribs on the side. as
I'm
you're
feeling
doing it,
my,
right?
because it helps me create the mental and where I should be focusing my breath.
Yes.
And then I switch and put my fist on my sternum, and I think of moving my chest in a pump handle fashion. So down here, I'm thinking of it more like a bucket handle, and up here, I'm thinking it of more like a pump handle. And so when I'm breathing, I'm thinking of moving my body that way. And then after 10, 15 breaths, each of those, I'll get right in and start to do my thoracic mobility, which is I'll stand up, grab a medicine ball, and I'll start just trying to move as far as I can while I'm adding resistance there.
Are you breathing in or holding the breath in?
I
while
am
doing
taking a
that?
big breath
Yep.
first, and then
Rotating.
rotating.
Okay.
This allows me to expand the rib cage so I can get more motion.
Beautiful.
And then I end with isometric holds. So I'll grab a cable and I will rotate and hold as long as I can. And then I'll do that 5 to 10 times each side. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of variability where I'm going at a diagonal up, middle, and down just to hit different motor units.
And you're doing that both sides. I'm
Both sides,
assuming,
yep.
Yeah.
Both sides.
Cool.
And then I end again with usually some hip stuff just to
Okay.
warm up my hips. That's just for more personal. I think you should still do it anyway, but I tend to have more resistant tightness in my hips. But I'm telling you, you want a phenomenal swing, no pain throughout all 18 rounds. If you have issues up here or even in your mid back, that's the one you need to adopt for
So
sure.
I love that. How soon before you do that and then step on the golf course, or do you do the driving range and then
So
18?
I usually will drive then to the course, and I'll go right on the driving range.
Okay.
And still warm up with shots.
Okay.
I always usually do the driving range prior to a round. Very rarely do I not. That just, again, helps to keep tissues warm, and I'll warm up shots prior to the round. But I still think that's a great way to warm up, even if you didn't go to the range first, if you just went right to
Yes.
the course. But
Ooh, good
again,
call.
it's up to you. I think that is still a great warm up for you, even if most people don't warm up. They'll
true.
head right to hole 1, no warm up, no range, and that's where you tweak the back.
I can't even imagine. My golf game would be even worse. Shoot.
But yeah, that's definitely another huge boost for breath work for before and after rib mobility protocols.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So not only helping your golf game, but in terms of breath work, you can ramp up the whole nervous system. So oftentimes if you feel like you're bogged down or like you have this mental fog in the morning that it's hard for you to get out of bed, and more inhales or more time inhalation will also help with that. So whether it's almost like hyperventilation,
Yep.
that way, so you can get more oxygen to the system. You can do Wim Hof in terms of couple like faster inhales versus exhales, and then hold inhale, and then longer exhale, and then you can hold everything out from there. That is another way that you can go about it. But let's say you want to calm the system down. So it'd be probably evening, maybe you're stressed out at work, certain situations can come up from that. Subconsciously, longer breath hails outwards, or more time exhaling. So that's your lever. More inhales, higher alertness, higher nervous system regulation in terms of down regulation, calming the system, longer exhales, more time exhaling. And even when I'm adjusting patients or like going to like deep thinking, so naturally sometimes I just found myself exhaling for longer periods of time, which can calm like my mind racing at times and just zone in, being a little bit more present time conscious.
And most people do this without even realizing it, but when people are really stressed, they'll have a big sigh. And that's actually called a physiological sigh. And dogs do this before they fall asleep. I'm sure you've seen it. They'll find where they're going to sleep, they'll lay down, and then they do a big sigh.
It's not because they're mad at you.
No, man, no.
They're calm.
Yep.
Trying to get
I don't know how many times you've either had significant others or family members, when you're annoying them or they're annoyed, do that big sigh, because it's a physiological way for you to just de-stress and calm the body. But I do think most patients, when they are trying this, you're going to feel something very quickly. I do. I start practicing breath work at night before I go to bed, and it just feels like a weight's lifted once I start practicing. It's great.
I love that. Like even for like me, if I want to feel more effects with the breath work, I'm adding a different stimulus, whether it's a shower or taking like a pin and like poking briefly, lightly, the top of your head, so you can have that mental awareness. And then from there, you're tucking your tailbone or squeezing your butt muscles as you're breathing in through your nose, imaging the top of the head. Now, let's take, for example, at night, shower, or like I said, that pin, and then go into more exhale breathing. Now, you're going to notice this weird type of like tingle sensation throughout the body that has more of effects throughout reversing the cerebral spinal fluid. If you want to look at any of that work, Joe Dispenza, he has awesome work. That is one from one of his books. And then let's say in the morning, same thing, application, like pin, hot, cold water behind the head, more inhales. Ramp the system up, and then you're ready to rock and roll from there. Add in some cold water to that. Let's go.
I had a doc that I worked with. He was a marathoner, and he would start his day with 10 very large inhales.
Sure.
And we did it with him, and it was very cool. It definitely hyperoxygenated the system. You had a little head rush, but alertness improved, your energy improved. It was a great way, without caffeine, to start your day.
Now, if you want to go back to the caveman way, go outside, get your feet on that grass, get the sun on the body, and go into some deep breath work, especially in the morning with more inhales. And there's just so many different ways that you can go about breath work at certain positions, and whether it's more inhales, exhales, holding the breath in, and then going through this different mobility. Or even, I saw this weird one, I can't remember what it was called, but it's anytime you inhale or exhale, you want to make the sound of the ocean or waves. It's interesting. I haven't really tried it too much, but
there's another one
so
too.
many.
Gosh, what was it? It was using. It wasn't. It might have been. I know there is some research on humming, but the other one was. Oh, I wish I knew it now because I just read it. Maybe it'll come to me here. But basically, how they sighed and how they made a noise definitely helped the study, because it gave them more of a cue to improve what they were doing. Gosh, I really wish I knew what it was now. I'd have to, I don't know if it's...
We might add that back in on the text down below. But yeah, let us know what breath work works well for you. What is your go-to? Comment below, because we're curious. We're always looking to explore, and even the people looking at the video, they sometimes go to the comments. So you're going to be helping others subsequently from there.
Yes. And so really, There's a lot of things that breath work can help with that a lot of people don't understand. And so I created a list of all the things that was in the first pod, plus a couple other gems that actually I added outside of what we've already known. So one quick stat that I want everyone to know is breath work can be used not only for, let's say, just calmness and feeling better, but there's a lot of conditions that it can improve. And there's a lot of research that shows these changes when patients are doing breath work. So here are a list of things that breath work can improve from a health standpoint. For the first, it can decrease your cortisol levels, which we know both in the short and the long term can be tough when we are stressed. So up to 20 to 25% reduction with daily practice, one study showed.
Wow.
Decrease in blood pressure. One study showed a decrease in about 5 to 10 of millimeters of mercury, meaning if you're used to the number 120/80, the top number is systolic, bottom number is diastolic. They showed that it went from 120 to 110, which is significant, believe it or not. It may seem like it's small, but that just by breath work alone, it reduced, even if you were at 130 and you went to 120, that just went from abnormal to normal. And so these kinds of practices can help you in times.
I'm sure that was more exhales, like
I'm
calming
sure
the system.
it was all parasympathetic, I'm assuming.
Because if you take the reverse of that, then let's say you want to increase, you would probably want to go more into hyperventilation, more inhales than exhales. But
Hyperoxygenate, increase alertness.
yes, sir.
So it also has been shown to increase heart rate variability, which we've talked about before on the pod. When we have a higher heart rate variability, we have a better ability to recover and heal. And when they showed this in research, heart rate variability improved up to 40% per session. And so every session that they were doing breath work, some of them improved up to even 40%. And that does substantially make a difference in how we improve, how we heal, and how we recover. And a lot of the times, all of the AI wearables, they track heart rate variability. Whoop is one of them. And we like to see how our heart rate variability is, because if we still have pain after months and we're not feeling well after we've been trying to eat better and move more and all these things, but we're not making a change, this is a metric that we can see. It's okay, forever in a day you've slept the best you can, you've eaten well, you've moved, but your heart rate variability isn't very good. Then we need to think about ways to improve that. So that's a great metric to use. It also can decrease your respiratory rate from, one study was 16 to 18 respirations per minute. From that to 6 to 10. So it dropped it by even 50% in some studies. And that's very helpful, because when we are shallow breathers, we're chronic chest breathers, we don't fully inhale and exhale, it can cause breathing issues. It can even be tied to obesity. It can be tied to problems with COPD long-term, anxiety. There's a lot of other things that can be tied to that. And if we're chronic mouth breathers, there's been a lot of other research showed as far as insulin resistance, sleep issues, dental caries, all these other things. So those are one thing that we would measure if you're a shallow breather, which would be respiration rate. And it can also decrease anxiety. This was a subjective statement that patients who are doing breath work, 30 to 50% symptom improvement when they were doing breath work. Wow. This is saying that you had 30 to 50% decrease in anxiety symptoms over the course of the study when doing breath work. Now, I don't know how many times you've tried anti-anxiety medications, but I can assure you the research is pretty clear that only 1 in 3 patients see change on anti-anxiety medications. That's 30%. So just this alone, having patients see that much results in such short time, I think it's worth trying if you've had issues with anti-anxiety medication. I actually think that could easily be taken as placebo. Most times when we do placebo research, it can be up to 30%. And so when I think of that, I always think, did the product, supplement, treatment, service do better than 30%? Because if it did, then I'm more interested in the outcomes. Because if it was a success of 30%, then I can still call that placebo in some research.
Interesting.
So in my opinion, because some anti-anxiety meds only improved about 30%, I am confident to say that it is just as good as placebo.
That is so cool.
And
I like that
bring
perspective
him,
too. I never thought about that.
Who's the Ways to Wells guy?
Ways to Wells. I'm not sure.
He was on Rogan, but anyway, he's got a pharmacological background, super smart guy. He does stem cells in Mexico. He's got a huge, big recovery center. But anyway, he was even talking about how some of that research was flawed and made up, and how anti-anxiety meds for sure are not helpful, and we should not be consuming them.
Good Lord.
But yeah, I would look into his work if you are looking to improve anxiety and those kinds of things. This one was my favorite. It decreased inhaler use by 90% when using Buteyko breathing. So asthmatics were using Buteyko breathing during this research, and it decreased inhaler use by 90%.
So what is Buteyko breathing then?
Buteyko breathing is when patients are breathing in for 2 to 3 seconds, and then they're exhaling for 3 to 4 seconds, and then they hold their breath. And you hold your breath for as long as you can until you are hungry for air, is the word that I use. And so when that is ready, you take your breath again, regulate your breathing, and then you start again. 2 seconds in, 4 seconds out, hold your breath as long as you can. And what they find is a mixture of the longer exhale tied with the holding your breath. 2 things: more parasympathetic output, and you'll have what's called the Bohr effect, where when we have short-term, what's called hypoxia, you kick oxygen off hemoglobin because you're desperate for more O2. And so it releases the O2 for cells to use, and then you reoxygenate with your breath. And so that has been shown to improve in a lot of things. We'll actually get to that in a little bit here, how I know a lot of Navy SEALs have used it for training, and to improve training. They'll do what are called apnea walks, where they'll hold their breath, walk as long as they can, to again try to get O2 off your hemoglobin, better oxygen use. But yeah, that one has been shown to decrease inhaler use by 90%. So if you struggle with asthma, you struggle with breathing, the inhalers don't work anymore, I'm telling you, Buteyko breathing, even mixed with an ice plunging, that also, in my opinion, has done really well with patients who are struggling with asthma. And then lastly, it's been shown to increase deep sleep by up to 20% in some research, just by breath work alone before bed.
I was going to say.
Yep.
Interesting.
So
I could see that for sure, calming the system down.
And this is with a mixture of box breathing, Wim Hof, pranayama, Buteyko. These are all, there's definitely different kinds of breath work that you can look into. We've gone over all of them in different pods. If you want to, back to our main breathwork pod, we went over all of those. But I definitely wish I would have incorporated breathwork earlier on in practice and my own life, with just the results that I've seen and things that I've felt in my own life. It's been incredible.
I love that. So, Doc, and thank you for sharing some of that, because I think that just even those statistics and some of the applications makes a lot more sense. Now let's dive into some of the 4 codes of breath mastery. And some of this we've dabbled in already, but we'll dive fully in so you guys have a good understanding. Now, in terms of the 4 codes, the first one is control. Now, control, where you want to learn to regulate your nervous system on demand. That is where we're going back to more inhales for the alertness, or time inhaling, versus exhales or times exhaling for calming the system down. So we can also add this in terms of like nasal breathing as well. So as you can see, we have nose strips, nasal strips, intake, mad respect, check them out.
Yes.
Got to get more oxygen to your dome. Simple enough. Now, nasal breathing, there, and I liked the point that a patient actually brought this up to me a while back, because they were in the breath work for a while. Jennifer, you may have known, she was here when you were here. Besides the point, so she was walking me through a couple things in terms of different ways that you can use the breath work. Now, do just nasal breathing when you're driving, especially if you're just like, you're on your way home from work, it's just you. Make sure your mouth is closed, breathing only through your nose, thus calming the system down, and you can re-regulate the nervous system, especially if you've had more of a stressful day. Love that, tried it. I only live 5 minutes away from work, so it doesn't work too well for me, but
that's still enough time.
Strongly suggested,
Plenty
yes.
of time.
Now, I know we went back through heart rate variability and the CO2 tolerance, which I'll get into in a sec, but actually, Doc, do you want to explain the heart rate variability on why we want to have a larger heart rate, especially with how Andy Galpin explained, like the
Yes.
bowling
So
alley effect.
when we're talking about controlling our nervous system, this is our ability to ramp it up when we want and lower it when we want. And when you think about it, we want to be able to ramp it up and lower it. And so you come up, basically you have this lane, and you think of it like a bowling alley, a bowling lane. And so here's your lane. And
Do you have a thin lane or do you have a wide lane?
And if we're in the middle of the lane, that's good. But eventually we'll have to ramp up and then get back to the middle. Because, for example, we go and do an exercise, we're up to zone 2, zone 3, breath work, we got to get back down to normal heart rate. So that's what we would consider a part of us diving in and out of this lane. Now, we also need to be able to eventually ramp up the system if we are going to work out, we want to be alert, we want to have focus, those kinds of things. So our ability to ramp up or slow down is a huge benefit, and that is basically heart rate variability. That's what HRV is. And our ability to do that really impacts how we recover, how we train, how we heal, how we function. And the way that it works is if you do not practice ramping up, calming down, your lane gets smaller. And so what happens is you eventually, stress can very easily cause your system to be overloaded, or it's a lot harder for you to ramp your system up. And in terms of the bowling lane, you want a large lane so that you have a lot more to basically, I don't know.
You want to push the bumpers.
Yeah. You want to push the bumpers. And so when you are pushing your body to its max, the lane gets wider. And when you are meditating and you are calming your system, that part of the lane also gets wider. And when you have a small lane, you don't really have anywhere to move, and it's just constant stress. There's no ramp up, ramp down. You're always in overload, and it doesn't work as well.
And I like this for even for parents out there, your kids, if it's harder for them, if they get anxious, if it's harder for them to control their emotions, if they get stressed often, this would be perfect where whether it's exercise, whether it's mental stress in tougher situations, especially with life lessons, to where imaging, like Doc said, the bowling alley, we always have this homeostatic regulation in terms of the middle lane, in terms of how you want to increase the heart rate variability. You got to push those bumpers. You got to get to higher stress, higher bouts of exercise, and then bring it back to center. So as you go into that higher effort, mental fortitude, calming the system down, thus more exhales to bring it back to center. And the faster you can bring the bumpers out, keep it there, but then quicker to re-regulate back to center, helps significantly re-regulate your nervous system. Yeah, we love that Andy Galpin came up with that. And yeah, it makes sense on so many different aspects, even with breath work.
And another way I can explain this, it helps a lot with my Whoop app. And so there's a number that it gives you, which is called strain, meaning it uses an algorithm to give you a number of how hard you've worked, whether that's movement, breath, whether that's heart rate, all the other things it measures. And so it wants you to do a number of 14 per day, I think is what Whoop app said for on average. You should try to shoot for about 14. If you didn't do anything during the day, you probably were at like a 3, maybe a 4 for strain. It just depends.
Yeah, for me, I'm like a 6, 7-ish.
So yeah. So what it showed though was when I have a strain of over 8, my deep sleep and REM sleep improves by well over 20%.
So cool.
And so what it shows is your ability to push your body has such a profound effect on a lot of other parts of your life. So you can break down what exercise does in 100 different ways, improvements wise, but even just improving my sleep and my recovery. When I strain over 8, that already gives me the ability to pushes my body to recover.
Yes.
It pushes my heart rate variability and my ability to sleep better. So I already think patients, and I know you know this because if you sat around all day and you did that for 2-3 days in a row on the weekend, didn't do anything, you're sluggish at the end of the week and you don't feel good. You maybe don't even sleep very well because you're probably napping all day. But when you go and you push yourself, and you're tired and you're exhausted, you sleep so much better and you feel refreshed. Yes. And that is something else that I think you need to understand when it comes to HRV.
And even to that point too, because I know my mind goes to this, and I'm sure others would be thinking the same thing. What if you work out at night? Okay, that makes breath work even more important. If you're ramping up your nervous system after work and you have maybe a couple hours, 4 hours till you fall asleep, you have to down regulate. Yes. Again, bumpers. We push in everything to this outer edge, or vice versa. It doesn't matter what edge, quite frankly. Breath work, calm the system down, longer exhales, or even in between reps, in between sets of workouts, down regulate your nervous system as well, especially at nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great point. Going back to controlling CO2 tolerance tests, there's a couple ways that you can check this, and this is more for regulating the nervous system and monitoring yourself if you're either too stressed, if you're exercising, working out, but you can't calm the system down. It's probably not best to keep pushing yourself into more stressful situations or workouts. So one way that you can go about this is a CO2 tolerance test. So I'll go through this in terms of, there's going to be 4 breaths in, 4 breaths out, but on the last breath out, you're counting the time and where you exhale. It's almost like you're going to be breathing through a straw, but we want to create a timer, have a timer as you're breathing outwards. So it looks timer. Is how much time you can breathe out on that last time. If you can get over 30 seconds exhaling, your nervous system's good. If you can get over 30 seconds to a minute, you're going to be sitting just fine in terms of getting into that mental effort workout. If you get under 30 seconds, you want to be cautious and probably either take it lighter for that day, switch out in terms of doing lower intensity workouts, getting away from stressful situations, going out for walks. If you do this in the morning, taking more breaks throughout your day, because if you ramp up your nervous system too long for so long, sickness, immunity, all this starts breaking down. Injuries occur. Like, it's a perfect tool for monitoring your nervous system and regulation from there.
And I think it's a great check-in of where you are fitness capacity-wise.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I think a lot of people who don't ramp their systems up, they don't exercise, they probably maybe are overweight, they don't take care of themselves. A lot of them will come in under 30 seconds, and it's a good way to show that is something that you will, let's say you just want to check to see what that's like for you. Let's say you came in under 30 seconds. That's going to be something where you maybe should take it slower before ramping up into maybe a 3 to even 5 day a week fitness regimen. You maybe want to start at just 1 to 2 times a week and really just make sure that you can be efficient with your workout. But if you are under 30, something that you should think about is definitely improving your breath work.
Yes.
And making sure that you're taking care of yourself, because more than likely something is about to happen if you don't change things.
I love that. All right, Doc, let's go into the second C, capacity.
Yes.
And I know we touched on some of this already in terms of the CO2 tolerance tests, but with capacity, we want to build up the lung power, the oxygen efficiency and tolerance on how much you can get oxygen to your system. And that goes back to the apnea walk, which, do you want to explain that again to patients?
Yeah, so
viewers.
When we are able to stop breathing for short periods of time, we can then cause what's called the Bohr effect, which is we are kicking oxygen off our hemoglobin due to the struggle of the body's not intaking oxygen. And so then we can be more efficient with the oxygen we already had, and then we can basically utilize that appropriately for the cells. So basically what they do is they'll hold their breath and they'll walk as long as they can. And some can walk for minutes without taking a breath. And that just shows increased efficiency of utilization of oxygen. Also, it shows better utilization of oxygen when we have it. And if you're only able to walk for 5 to 10 seconds, that just shows that we need to be more efficient cellular-wise and improving our lung capacity, improving our oxygen efficiency. So that is something you can start practicing even just on walks, just going on when you're on a walk with your dog or whatnot. Just see how long you can hold your breath.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah, and see how much more you can start to add on top of that.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
And then we already touched on CO2 tolerance testing, but Doc, I know you have used an elevation training mask. Do you want to dive in on just how that can also push people further with their lung capacity?
I wish I brought that in.
Yeah.
Darn it. It's almost like you're Darth Vader. So
Yep.
if you are curious on elevation training masks, just Google elevation training masks. There's a weird mask that'll come up. There's a bunch of different ones. I've tried a couple. The main thing is you can set how much oxygen comes in the masks. So where it kind of mimics in terms of altitude, in terms of 5,000, 10,000, 12,000 feet above sea level. But the main purpose is of getting oxygen to your system. So when you're utilizing the elevation training masks, you're doing effortful work, you're exercising, working out. Even if you don't want to do that, you put the elevation training masks on, and then you do some mindful work or actually work itself. It's a little more tougher for you to concentrate on that effort work because your mind's going to be focused on why am I not getting oxygen into the system, which will help significantly for the conditioning and also utilization of what Doc said, the cells and the hemoglobin throughout the body. On that side of things, if you need to ramp up your training, strongly suggested. I used it for college soccer. We had to run a 5-minute mile in order to play. This is the last couple seasons. Without that, I don't think I would have been able to pass that 5-minute mile, which is just crazy in itself.
So it just jacked up your ability to go through a bout of effort, but have the oxygen and the capability of doing that lung power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, secret, if anyone has this or are wanting to get this, the key aspect, wear this with your training, but don't take it off after your effort, after your set of exercise. Down-regulate the nervous system while your mask is on and get your body like a calm state, and then you can take it off and wipe it off and go back into it again.
So almost give yourself a little struggle, down-regulate.
Yes.
With the lack of, because does it cut off the oxygen coming in?
Not necessarily. It's just harder for it because like when you're exercising, you're grasping for oxygen, for air. So there's already not as much coming in. After that effort, going back to the bumper lane, it forces your body to down-regulate much quicker.
Got it.
So thus greater heart rate variability and all stuff with that. And I know we touched on Greg Rose's and the rib expansion drills, which is awesome. I know there's one thing that I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, Doc, but I've been playing around with this as well in terms of the accessory muscles and the diaphragm, especially the intercostal space. And going back to if you have pain between the ribs, you don't want to necessarily start with this. As the pain starts to subside, then you can ramp back up into this. In terms of if you're kneeling on the ground, there's an exercise band coming from, if you're viewing from my left to my right hand is reaching over, so I'm holding onto the exercise band, and it's almost like I'm tilting my body. From there, you should feel stretch on the whole outside portion of your body, but when you're feeling that stretch, go into deep bouts of effortful breathing through the chest, rotate the body, deep, effortful breath work as the band is bringing your arm up over your body. And then you can also twist backwards and then go into deep breath work from there. So the band is assisting in terms of stretching and creating more of a convexity on the outside portion of your torso rib cage. You go into deep breath work. You're not only taxing your diaphragm, the lungs, but also the tissues on the outside, which I thought it would be awesome for most.
I bet you patients who have scoliosis would improve. They bet you those who have emphysema, COPD, other types, asthma, that would be a great one for them. And then those who are just chronic chest breathers, maybe just feel like they have tight torsos, sits a lot, I bet you that would be also super helpful for those too.
Now let's take this a step further, because I know you brought up in terms of breath work.
Yep.
Like this, what would you call this?
The pump handle.
Pump handle. And I haven't tried this, I'm just thinking outside the box on this one. You take the exercise band from behind you, Or go into extension, maybe laying on a bed couch with your head, upper back slightly hanging off, and then go into deep breath work. Or go into core, hold, and relax. So it adds into more of a resistance of that pump handle.
Yeah,
frontal
side. Yeah, for sure.
We're on the
You
something.
gotta try that.
Let's go. All right, Doc. Third C, calm. Now, use breath as a tool for anxiety, pain, sometimes poor sleep. When you want to calm the system down, Doc, what are some of the tools that you use to calm the system down?
Nasal strips for me are the biggest. So anytime
Thanks.
I will either need a better recovery, I need to breathe better, I need to sleep better, and even if I have some stress, the nasal strips are two things. One, they improve my ability to breathe because I am a poor nose breather. I have a really bad deviated septum. But two, it's almost like a mental reminder to nasal breathe, which helps me out a lot. So nasal strips for sure are absolutely crucial for me. Breath work, when I am at night trying to calm down, I'll usually do all types of breathing. I like Buteyko breathing myself, but I'll also do diaphragmatic breathing. And then just any and all focusing breath work while I am in the ice plunge. Believe it or not,
Solid.
at the time, it's a controller, it's a ramper, but long term, it's a calmer for me. So when I am consistently doing ice plunging and breathing while I'm doing it, my stress resilience and my ability to stay calm is drastically improving.
It's like going back to that bumper lane. We're pushing that stress of that cold.
Yeah.
And then bring it back to
So
center.
for me, that's one that I can't wait to incorporate back in. I do it, but I need to be doing it more. But those two for me have always been the what I would say in the last year have been the biggest drivers of my stress resilience is nasal breathing, improving my nasal breathing, and then ice plunging for sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk on mouth taping?
Yeah, so that is one thing that we've been adding now with patients. So this is a breathable piece of adhesive tape that it sounds like scary because it feels like you're not going to be able to breathe, but it's not true. There is almost like a screen on it so you can breathe. So you can still technically breathe through it, it's just very difficult. So what it does is it stops you from mouth breathing, which is what we've talked about on I don't know how many times now on our podcast. We want to try and improve nasal breathing. And it fits right over the lips. If you have a beard, it actually is still very helpful as far as an adhesive, and it promotes nasal breathing. There is even a lot of research that shows mouth tape reduces snoring and it can reduce sleep apnea.
Oh yeah,
And
it helps so much.
I do think it's really helpful. If you use the nasal strips with the mouth tape, I think that's an incredible combo to start improving your sleep, to improving nasal breathing at night, and I think you should give it a try.
Yeah, with my whoop, and it's funny, like you guys can still hear me, I'm still breathing. When I have the mouth strips, the nasal strips, my sleep score with a whoop goes up the chain like a son of a gun. And yeah, it doesn't hurt. My wife says it peels off the lips a little bit, but it's really not too bad at all.
Yeah.
Intake,
Give it a try.
you know where to go on
Give
that.
it a try. We'll put the links in the chat.
Strongly suggested for all those, especially now when inputting or putting on the mouth tape. My, I guess, secret with this is not having your mouth completely closed, but having it slightly open, like with maybe less than a millimeter space, just so you can have the jaw and mouth in a relaxed position when you're trying to fall asleep. Because if your mouth, the tape is forcing it shut when you sleep, your mouth opens up in a relaxed position, there could be some irritation and clenching in the jaw, which can lead to other problems down the road. So slight space between the lips.
Yes, I like that.
Yes, sir.
Yes. But other reasons we'd want to calm the system, we can do it to reduce pain. There's been studies that shows it can reduce pain. If you have central sensitization issues, we've talked a lot about that on the past. That's just where the brain doesn't quite communicate with the body. Patients with fibromyalgia have this, other things. That is something I actually have patients who have central sensitization issues in clinic they are doing that right now, and it's working extremely well, and I love it. I'm glad that I've been able to impact them because they sometimes don't get a lot of change when they're doing treatment. POTS, a lot of POTS patients in the past that have done this. Again, fibromyalgia, I talked about that. Vagal nerve issues, long COVID. This can all be something that these patients can use to improve their symptoms.
Love that.
Yep.
Yeah, calm the system down.
And then lastly, we have cognition and clarity, which Doc has talked about, where we're trying to up-regulate, boost focus, improve decision-making, improve stress handling. This is where the bowling lane analogy kind of comes in, but actually cold exposure plus breath, a nervous system reset. That's what I was saying is long-term kind of change that you see with stress resilience. But the other things that you see too with ice plunging, it can be better energy and mental clarity and focus too when we're doing this. Doc, when you did ice plunging, what were the things that you noticed?
Oh, I could handle stress so well throughout the day, even just with one session.
Yeah.
And when you're on a consistent cycle, you don't have to worry about the stress of the day as much. Like, it's still there, but you're not aware of it. You're not reacting to it as much. I absolutely love that. It's harder for us in Arizona in the summer, outside, go into a place and go into a cold plunge. But if you do this throughout your everyday life, throughout the year, huge improvements long term from there. Again, pushing the bumper lane.
100%. So the last thing we have here today is how do we incorporate AI with breath work? And so the biggest thing that we have to recommend would be the Whoop band. This is a wearable AI technology that it monitors many different things in your body. Anything from skin temperature to your heart rate to your respiration rate, all the way up to, there's even models that will monitor just your heart rate, but your overall, it can detect AFib, it's almost like a wearable heart monitor in a way.
Yeah.
And there's other things that is coming out with the technology that I can't wait to see, but it's going to actually even recommend certain blood work that you should be doing based off of the based off of the metrics that it has on you with your wearable. Yeah, it's incredible what we've seen so far with Whoop. And I think if you were looking to optimize your health in a way that is efficient and you can at least, because what it does too is it has an AI model that you can ask questions such as,
So cool.
What should I be doing with this? And what should I be doing with this? And it uses your own personal metrics to answer those questions for you. It's a nice guide. Also, it tells you out of hundreds of different variables, what variables are positive for you and or negative for you when it comes to recovery, when it comes to sleep. I'm telling you, it gives you access to information that you didn't even realize made a difference in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Whoop, and it's crazy how some of the technology and how they're advancing their whole system to improve others moving forward from there.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Doc, what were some other apps that they can use regarding breath work?
Absolutely. So there's a couple that we had ChatGPT pull some of this in. So we haven't checked this out too much, so take that for what it is. But if you want to look into a few things, strongly suggested in terms of devices like Moonbird and AIO Sleeve, offer different like haptic breathing type of wearables in terms of helping you breathe in, breathe out at a pace to help your nervous system and control your nervous system. Like I said, going back to inhales, exhales. There's other free apps like Othership, Breath Work, but Breath and then WRK. Those are also very awesome in terms of personalized breathing exercises. And then if you guys haven't checked out our previous pod on how you can give ChatGPT pretty much a meditation guide to help your nervous system, whether it's ramping it up, ramping it down, and actually writes a script for you, and then you put that into an AI script model, so it just creates an overlaying voice AI. So essentially, you're creating your own breath work.
Yes.
Through
Breathwork
GPT.
agent.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's incredible.
So those are awesome. Strongly suggest if you guys want to personalize it for you and yourself, absolutely go to town.
Yes. Hopefully this was incredibly impactful for you guys today. This was the nuts and the bolts. If there's anything else that you have questions on, please comment. We would love nothing more than to answer all of those. And yeah, we're just appreciative of each and every one of you. Thank you so much for continuing to watch these podcasts. And until next time, guys, you guys have a great day.
Disclaimer: the content provided in this health podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Reliance on any information provided in this podcast is solely at your own risk. The creators and hosts of this podcast are not responsible for any actions or decisions you may take based on the information presented.
Thanks for joining us on The Functional Code. For more evidence-based health insights, subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, your journey to a healthier you begins with understanding the Functional Code. Until next time, stay well, stay informed, and embrace the science of living well.